Hi, I'm LeMage and this is my Zeah only Ultimate Ironman. Soon, we'll be taking on Gielinor's hardest bosses using only what I have available to me from Zeah. For now, you'll be watching me tackle Zeah's biggest challenges. My restricted Ironman journey began in 2019 when I created my RuneScape 3 Desert Only Hardcore Ultimate Ironman, with the end goal of finishing a full set of weapons from Telos, the strongest boss of RuneScape at the time. But after maxing my RuneScape 3 main a few months ago and reaching all of my PVM goals, I wanted a new and fresh experience, which brings us to this Zeah only Ultimate Ironman. Like my first restricted Ironman, this one also started in the Caribbean. I had originally intended for this account to be a desert only Ultimate Ironman as well. It only took me about 5 minutes to realize that the desert in Old School was much more lackluster than in RuneScape 3. There just wasn't enough content to make this either fun or interesting, so I decided that I had to move to Zeah. Zeah is a place that I have never been before. As a mostly RuneScape 3 only player, this is a completely new and exciting way for me to experience this game. I've only gained about 11 total levels since starting this account a few minutes ago, so I don't think this is going to ruin the purity of this account, especially since everything I did in Alcarid is available within about 30 seconds of landing in Zeah. I don't really know anything about Zeah, so I'm training in fishing and cooking in the meantime while I research what's available to me here. It's time to start earning favor with the houses, because it looks like I won't really be able to do anything around here until I do. First, I'll need 60% favor with RKS to unlock the RKS Home Teleport and Spellbook. To do this, I'll need to find books from around the library and bring them to this NPC. After about 10 minutes of struggling to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing here, I finally found the first book. All of that for 4 XP. After a few of those books, I've unlocked manuscripts with this Horphus guy, which will let me find multiple manuscript pages at once instead of coming back here to get a task every time I find a new book. It's been about 15 minutes and I've almost gotten enough manuscript pages for level 2 rune crafting. And there we go, level 2 in rune crafting. There's really no reason for me to be training this right now, since the lowest level runes that I can craft here in Zeah are blood runes, which I can't even use until I unlock the wave spells. Now it's time to do some combat training. I'll get base 5 melee stats and then go buy a better sword from the Sagian sword shop, because this bronze one is going to become painfully slow to use soon. So now I've got my melee stats up, and I'll need about 400 GP to buy a steel scimitar from the weapon shop in Sagian, so I'm trying to make some cash from mining and smithing. And the bronze equipment sells for nearly nothing here. I don't really know what I expected. Here's my first random in the account. Let's see what we get. Oh, look at that. 160 coins. That almost gives us enough for the steel scimitar. I finally have 400 GP after selling shrimps. Unfortunately, the sword shop in Sagian is like behind 20% favor, so it looks like I'll have to be here giving out these med packs until then. Each med pack gives 0.1% favor, so this will only be about 200 soldiers before I can access the shops. I now have 20% favor here and can finally buy the steel scimitar. There's an iron sword spawn in the corner of this shop, which can be sold back for 54 coins. This may be the very best money I can make on this account for quite a while. I didn't notice the shop until just now, but there's an armor shop here in Sagian that sells up to steel armor. I'll need 2050 GP to buy it all, so I'm going to test out this iron sword money making method. It only took me about 11 minutes to make enough GP for the armor, and now I'm all set for some AFK sand crab training. I haven't decided just how long I'm going to be training here at Sand Crabs, because there are more productive ways to train combat, but this is just so easy and requires almost no attention, so I'll probably just be here long enough to either use mithril or adamant weapons. I got 30 attack just a few minutes ago, and we're just about to hit 30 strength now as well. The plan is to buy an adamant longsword from the weapon shop, which will probably be our best melee weapon for some time. This is a huge upgrade, steel scimitar to adamant longsword. I planned on farming Azeric's talisman from Lizardman, which provides useful teleports around Zeah, but it looks like these guys have a ranged attack and a poison, so my safe spotting idea isn't really going to work. So I'll need to do some training before I can kill these guys. Here's the bitter part of any restricted Ironman account, the exceptions. To be able to do a majority of the content on Zeah, I'll need to do 2 quests off of the continent. Druidic Ritual for access to herb lore, and X marks a spot for the ability to do the Koran quest series. Druidic Ritual requires a few items that can be found on Zeah: bear meat, rat meat, beef, and chicken. X marks a spot requires nothing other than a spade, which can also be found in Zeah. At this point, I've gone ahead and completed Druidic Ritual, and I'm waiting to complete X marks the spot until later. The purpose of unlocking Herblore right now was to make anti-poison potions for killing lizardmen. I overlooked an important piece of the puzzle here because anti-poison potions require ground unicorn horn, which I'll need a pestle and mortar to make, but pestle and mortars are actually impossible to obtain on Zeah. This leaves one good option for me to fight lizardmen right now: the strange fruit. The strange fruit cures poison, but unlike anti-poisons, does not give immunity, meaning that they're only going to help me stop poison, not protect me, so I'll need to be much tankier. The strange fruit is obtainable through the strange plant random event or through a 1 in 20 chance reward from thieving from fruit stalls, so I'll be training thieving to 25 to unlock them. I've finally got 25 thieving, so now it's time to go gain favor with Acidia so that I can steal from the fruit stalls in the city. For the first 5% favor here, I'll have to plow these fields for an average of like 0.03% favor each time, I think. Now I've reached 5% favor here in Acidius, and I've unlocked the ability to make fertilizer, which award 0.1% favor and require 1 compost and 1 saltpeter each. I'll need to buy 100 compost from the farming stall in Acidius, which will cost about 2000 GP, so it's time to do some more iron sword selling. Here we go, buying 100 compost. Luckily, there's a leprechaun right next to the saltpeter piles in the NPC that accepts the fertilizer that will store our compost, and we can take it out as needed. I'll need to combine all 100 of these buckets of compost with saltpeter and turn them in, and then I should be able to steal from the fruit stalls. This is the last of it, and now we have the required 15% favor for the Acidius fruit stalls. So there's a location in Zeah where the guards hold the aggression of lizardmen in a multi-combat area, so we're going to go ahead and try to kill some of those that the guards are aggroing to see if we can get some loot. These strange fruits are supposed to be a 1 in 20 drop chance, so we'll see about that. I definitely don't have the RNG on my side today because this just took me about 10 minutes to get 5 of these strange fruit. I'm going to go ahead and get some cakes, and then we'll see how we do against the lizardmen. I don't know what I expected coming here with such a low range level, but I can barely hit these guys before the guards kill them. And if I get into melee range, more of the lizardmen will aggro onto me, so it would be best for me to save this for when I have better gear. The best drop from these things is the talisman that teleports around Zeah, but it's going to require too much upkeep because you have to get 1 lizardman fang for every teleport around. So I would have to kill a lot of these things to make it worthwhile, so I'm just going to push this off until later. It's time to start getting better combat gear. And that starts with the Rune Scimitar, which will be our best melee weapon in the area until we can either get the Dragon Warhammer or the Saragnus Crudgel. There are a lot of mobs that drop the Rune Simi around here, but the best drop rate is from the gang members and the Tackling Organized Crime minigame with Zeah, which requires 40% favor. The gang members each have a 1 in 80 chance of dropping the Rune Scimitar. Up to 14 of these gang members spawn at intervals of about 20 minutes randomly around Zeah, so I'll be weaving this in with other training. Alright, done with 40% favor, so it's time to go see how we'll do against these gang raids. Those gang bosses are going to be a little bit of a problem. He just hit a 12 on me, and the rest of the gang members KO'd me. I had a little bit of trouble running away because of auto-retaliate, so I'll have to remember to turn that off next time. For now, melee is not a great option for these gang raids, but if I can lure and save spot some of the gang members using magic or range, I should be able to get by without even taking damage from these things. It's time to go train some magic. This will probably be our best style for a long time, and will make those gang raids so much easier. I did a bit more iron sword selling at the weapon shop in Zeah, so now I can afford a pretty big pile of runes and a staff. I just found out that both the Zeah sergeants and head guards drop rune scimitars as well as rune kite shields at a drop rate of 1 in 512, so I'm going to farm these guys between gang raids for now. We just got a rune kite shield, a 1 in 512 chance on kill number 5. I decided to come back to sand crabs, get to base 40s, so that I'll actually be able to use my rune kite shield in the scimitar if I get one soon. And we just got level 40 defense, so now I can finally use the kite shield and drop the wooden shield and clear up an inventory slot. One of the most important pieces of content here in Zeah is the Winter Tot, a fire-making based skilling boss on the northern end of the continent. The rewards include ores, herbs, seeds, gems, food, the dragon hatchet, a ton of GP, and the Tome of Fire, a shield slot magic book that acts as an infinite source of fire runes and boosts damage of fire spells by 50%. This would make the boosted max hit of Fire Strike 12 instead of 8. This would bring Firebolt from 12 to 18, Fire Blast from 16 to 24, and Fire Wave from 20 to 30. Since we're limited to the Rune Scimitar for melee, and a good ranged weapon will be locked behind very high smithing and fletching levels for the time being, magic will be our go-to style for PvM for a long time. For the Winter Tot, I'll need the required 50 fire making, as well as warm clothes to protect me from the cold attacks. Normally you would need 4 pieces of warm clothes, which would block a significant amount of the damage from the cold, but here in Zeah, we currently only have 2, the Staff of Fire and the Clue Hunter Top. I'll also need to upgrade my axe to be able to complete the boss more quickly, especially for now, while I only have 2 pieces of warm clothing. Here's the drop table for the Winter Tot. Our primary goal is the Tome of Fire, with a 1 in 1000 drop rate. To charge the book, burnt pages each give 20 charges and have a drop rate of 1 in 45 for a random quantity between 7 and 43. The Power Mancer set and gloves are pieces of warm clothing that can be dropped when killing the boss. Each has a drop rate of 1 in 150, and each can be traded in for 50 burnt pages. The goal is to come out of the Winter Tot with a Tome of Fire and about 1000 burnt pages. This will give me 20,000 casts of fire spells with increased damage, hopefully enough to allow me to complete my other goals here. Next time, I'll be training and gearing up to take on the first big challenge of the series, the Winter Tot. I should have episode 2 up by next week. I hope you enjoyed the video and let me know if you have any tips for me. A link to my Discord will be down in the description if you want to stay updated on the latest videos.